Okay, hi guys. This is the first video for the official Improve Myself video for videos. Okay, so before I'm first of all I'm Hunter Kim. I'm in Korea right now, and when I was in college, I was very interested in presenting myself. Like I was into presentations because I used to like stutter a lot and I used to talk in a much more higher voice. So I learned and trained myself to talk slower and try to like get a resonating voice. And I've used it like in presentations very well. But in some videos, I see that David Wood is doing some hypnotic language and hypnotic voice patterning and things like that. And I wanted to implement that into my videos. And so what I'm gonna do here is, because I was able to like create a persona of like a resonating voice with authority into my presentations when I was working to become a much more better presenter. I'm going to duplicate that first into my English presentations. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do some tongue twisters today, and I'm always going to start with tongue twisters, and the next thing I did was read a passage from a book. And today, after my tongue twisters, I'm gonna read a passage from this book I had since what was it, like 1992 or 3, when I was in elementary school. Actually, I went to elementary school in Malaysia. I went there because my father had business there, and his company repositioned him to Malaysia. So what I did was I went to an international school there. So I was lucky enough to learn a lot of English, and I read a lot of these Willard Price novels. So I didn't have much problem with English in Korea until now. So once again, I'm going to improve myself in this video, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to do that live on this video. So bear with me. Okay, I'm going to start with my tongue twisters. First of all, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines, and where she shines, she sits. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines, and where she shines, she sits. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines, and where she shines, she sits. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines, and where she shines, she sits. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. Where she sits, she shines, and where she shines, she sits. How many boards could the Mongols hoard if the Mongol hordes got bored? How many boards could the Mongols hoard if the Mongol hordes got bored? How many boards could the Mongols hoard if the Mongol hordes got bored? How many boards could the Mongols hoard if the Mongol hordes got bored? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Wow, that one's hard. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Wow, this one is hard. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Okay, I'm gonna do this one slower, because obviously I'm not gonna progress anymore if I like stutter like this, so I'm gonna do this slower, then go faster. Okay, send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Send toast to 10 stout saints, 10 tall tents. Okay, some progression there. So you see, if you get stuck in a tongue twister, what you do, and what I did before in Korean, was I slowed it down a bit, and then I did it faster and faster. Okay, so that'll be a useful tip for you if you are doing tongue twisters. Okay, I'm doing this in I just searched for tongue twisters in Google, so you just have to go to Google and type in tongue twisters, and you can go to any one of them because they're like obviously all of them are good. So I did like 5 today, and every day I'm gonna do 5 more. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bookmark this page. I don't know what you guys are gonna use, but every day I'm gonna do more tongue twisters until I get better and better. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is read a passage from my novel. Okay, so it doesn't have to be like a very hard book, because you're not gonna like read. Let's see what I've got here. See, because you're not gonna like read international business. This is a business and biz ad major book about international business, and you don't have to like read things like this. You just have to read an easy novel or anything you might you like, or anything like you could read Harry Potter. I've got this Wicked book here. Okay, you might wanna you could check this out, or anything, maybe the Hardy Boys, or like the Famous Five that I used to read when I was little. So anything's possible. And about this book, briefly, this one is about this. Actually, I forgot the characters' names, but oh, here it is. Okay, this one is about New Guinea in the South Pacific is the wildest island in the world. In its mountainous jungles and teeming waters, Hal and Roger hunt. Hunter is my name, so that's great. Meet people who have never seen foreigners and exotic creatures almost no one has ever seen. But unknown to the boys, their old enemy Merlin Kaggs has escaped from jail, determined to pay them back for putting him there. And man-eating crocodiles, deadly snakes, the fierce Komodo dragon, and the islanders, some call savages, are gentle and civilized by comparison with Kaggs. Okay, so it's an adventure by Willard Price about Hal and Roger. Sometimes their father comes in, but this one I think the brothers are the main characters. So, okay, I'm gonna read the first chapter here. Here, Cannibal Isle. So I'm gonna start reading. This will help your speech a lot, because I did this when I was in the army. All Korean guys have to go to the army and they have like tons of time left over. So what I did there was I took my book. Okay, I think I have it here. The title is it's in Korean, but you can see the English title here, Power Speech. So what this book does is it provided me with tongue twisters and passages I could read and tips on how to make my voice resonate and stuff, and it helped me a lot. So what I did was I didn't have many books when I was in the army, so what I did was I read passages from this book. So what that did for me was first I could talk in a resonating voice, and I could like control the speed of my speech. I could talk fast like this. I could talk more faster. Before I used to talk very fast because I had a much more higher voice, so I could like speak much more faster in a higher voice, and I do all this weird stuff with my hands and everything. But after training with my book, I could control my energy, my speed, the resonating, how resonant my voice would be. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna duplicate that in English by reading passages from books. That's why I'm doing books. The tongue twisters are there because I want to like enunciate the words and I want to improve my pronunciation. So, okay. Once again, the tongue twisters are for enunciation and my pronunciation, and the reading of passages is to learn how to control the energy in my voice in English. I'm going to duplicate my skills in Korean into English. Okay, so I'll start reading now. Cannibal Isle. Hal Hunt and his young brother, Roger, didn't like the look of it. The world's wildest island, that was what explorers had called it. Enormous New Guinea, second largest island on the globe, stretched across the Arafura Sea like a huge toad, dark and ugly under black storm clouds. The toad's back was covered with evil-looking warts bulging 2 or 3 miles high, hundreds of them, for New Guinea is the most mountainous island in the world. Shut away in these mountains were people who were just beginning to learn that there was another world outside of their valleys. They had no way of getting to that outside world. In most areas, there were no roads, and outsiders had a hard time getting in. Only a few valleys had been visited by airplanes. Roger shivered. It was not because of the cold wind sweeping across the deck of the flying cloud. He turned to the schooner's captain, salty old Ted Murphy. Captain Ted had sailed these seas for 50 years. These people, Roger said, they're not really cannibals, are they? That's just a story, isn't it? Depends on what people you mean, said Captain Ted. The easiest part of New Guinea is governed by Australia, and the Australian patrols have most wiped out cannibalism. But the west part, the part you're looking at right now, is just about as it was 1,000 years ago. The tribe in one valley makes war on the tribe in the next valley, and the winners eat the losers. But don't worry, a visitor is pretty safe. You mean they like visitors? Said Roger hopefully. No, I mean they don't like visitors. They think a stranger's head is a bad thing to put in their tambaran. What's a tambaran? House of the dead, sort of a temple or ghost house, with shelves of heads the tribe has taken. They think there's a spirit or ghost still living in every dead head. A stranger's skull would contain the very worst kind of spirit that would cause the tribe no end of trouble, so they don't want it around. So they never kill whites or blacks? Not often. Not often. Still, there's no telling. If they get angry, they may lop off your head, but they won't give it the honor of a place on the shelf. Honor my eye, said Roger. I can get along with that without that honor. He looked again at the savage shore and the towering black mountains. They seemed to promise nothing but trouble. But there was an easy way to play it safe. Just stay away from the island. How about staying offshore? He said to Hal. There's plenty we could do out here. Dad wanted us to get crocodiles. Okay, they're out here, not on shore. And he wanted us to capture sea cows and sharks and any sea animals that he could sell to Marineland or SeaWorld or any big oceanarium. The sea life is all out here. Why go on land and get messed up with cannibals? Hal smiled. I don't think you're really as scared as you sound. And remember, sea life wasn't all Dad wanted. He pulled out his father's cablegram. He says, I suggest you explore world's wildest island, New Guinea. But look out for cannibals. We need crocodiles, sea cows, tiger sharks, Komodo dragons, birds of paradise, cassowaries, kangaroos, bandicoots, couscous, flying foxes, phalangers, giant scorpions, dinosaur lizards, death adders, taipans, koala bears, cannibal skulls for museums. Hal put the message back in his pocket. Now tell me, young man, how are we going to collect all those things without stepping ashore? Roger grinned. Hal was right. Roger was no fraidy cat. He was only 14, but big for his age. He and 19-year-old Hal had been in wild places before. Perhaps not as wild as this, but the Amazon jungle was no picnic. The underwater world of South Seas had spelled out many adventures, and they would never forget the danger and delights of capturing wild animals alive in Africa. They were both young for this business, but older in knowledge of animals than men twice their age. Because they had started early. Before they could walk, they were getting acquainted with wild animals on their father's animal farm in Long Island. Wild beasts, reptiles, birds, and sea creatures collected the world over were kept on the animal farm until they could be sold to zoos, circuses, aviaries, and aquariums. The boys had grown up with animals. Hal was now a fully fledged naturalist, and Roger had a rare talent for making friends with all sorts of creatures, whether they had 2 legs, 4 legs, or 100. So confident had their father become in their ability that he had renamed his firm. It had been John Hunt. Now it was John Hunt and Sons. Following their father's instructions, they had chartered a schooner in Sydney, along with its Captain Ted Murphy. It was really Captain Murphy's own ship, but so long as the boys held the charter, it was theirs, and they were very proud of it. While they had it, they would call it the Flying Cloud, because of its magnificent spread of white sails and its speed of 17 knots. Just now, the Flying Cloud was not flying. She was wallowing badly in waves that seemed to roll in from all sides. The dark sky promised still worse weather. These seas have a bad reputation, said Captain Ted. Those big mountains twist the winds around in every direction. It was here that Michael died. Who was Michael? Roger said. Michael Rockefeller, son of Nelson Rockefeller, governor of New York. When it happened, you were probably too young to be reading the papers. What happened to him? He and his friend were sailing a catamaran. A storm came up. The cat was knocked around by the waves. Their motor went dead, and they were driven out to sea. Finally, the boat capsized. They clung to the wreck all night and all the next day, hoping some other vessel might come along and rescue them. None came. They argued about what they ought to do. Michael wanted to swim the 10 miles to shore. His friend thought it was better to stick to the wreck. Michael struck out for shore. The other boy was picked up, but Michael never made it. Perhaps the distance was too great. Perhaps a shark or crocodile pulled him down, or possibly got to shore and was killed by cannibals. His father, the governor, flew here and searched for him, but none of the natives knew anything about him, or if they knew, they wouldn't tell. The story did not make Roger any happier about going ashore, but he was to go ashore whether he liked it or not. The storm grew more savage. The large sails had to be reefed. The auxiliary engine was buffeted by the waves until the propeller gave out, and the helpless flying cloud was driven towards the rocky coast. Once on the rocks, it would be pounded to pieces, but the captain knew his geography. The Elandon River comes out here. If we could just get into the mouth. Lay hold, boys. Help me on this wheel. It's buckling like a wild horse. Hal knew as well as the captain that a dead ship would not answer to its helm, but the cloud was not quite dead. The big sails were down, but the jib remained. It took 3 pairs of hands to control the wheel. The overstrained rudder groaned and threatened to split at any moment. The ship grazed the rocks at the river's mouth, but scraped by into quieter waters. Now the incoming tide caught it and carried it upstream. There was no wind here, therefore the jib was powerless, and so was the rudder. The schooner was at the mercy of the tide. She spun about, sometimes bow on, sometimes stern first, sometimes broadside. Finally, she would up in shallow water where her keel struck bottom, and she lay over on her side, as if tired out by all her adventures. The 3 mariners slid off her tilted deck onto the riverbank before a village of thatched huts. The largest of the buildings was the Tambaran, the spirit house, and Roger fervently hoped the captain was right, that the headhunters didn't care to adorn the shelves of that house with any heads except good brown ones. Perhaps they would hate his skin so much that they would leave him alone. Okay, that was chapter 1 from my book Cannibal Adventure by Willard Price. Okay, so I think that's about enough training today. So I'm just gonna point out here again why I'm doing this. First of all, I did all of this in Korean before because I wanted to become a better presenter, and I wanted better speech skills, and I wanted to control my speaking energy and control my body language, control my gestures and everything. So I'm going to do this day by day, and I'm going to improve my skills, and I'm going to show you how much I improve and how I improve through video. Okay, so guys, I'll see you tomorrow, and have a good night.